Welcome to new listeners from the National Garden Club's Central Region. Carol spoke to them via Zoom at the beginning of November.
Yes, indeed. And welcome to the Garden Angelist, where we talk about flowers, veggies, and all the best dirt. I'm Carol Michael from Indianapolis, Indiana. We have a suburban garden measured in square feet. It's about a third of an acre.
And I'm Dee Nash from Guthrie, Oklahoma, where I garden on several acres out in the country.
We call ourselves Garden Angelists because we are evangelists for gardening. We love gardening and we want others to love it too.
Yes, we do. And we aren't afraid to spill the beans and tell all of our gardening secrets, the good, the bad, and even the ugly. But that's enough of who, what, when, where. Let's move on to this week's episode. Good morning, Carol.
Good morning, Dee. So this episode drops November 17th. We're recording on November 2nd. So
because I'm going to be out of town.
That's right. But your house is going to be heavily guarded. So everybody know that.
There you go.
So my garden is slowly easing into that. This is the state it's going to be in until spring. Patio furniture under the tarp on the back patio. It looks janky, but I don't have room in the garage for everything anymore.
Right.
I'm just going to keep circling the garden, looking for weeds, like thistles and things that are hiding.
Right.
And as other stuff dies back, they stay green, and I'm going to yank them out until I can't yank them out.
Sounds good.
I did dig up a few lily of the valley pips, wash them off, and put them in the back of the refrigerator because I'm going to try to force them in January since we can't buy them anymore. And as I told the lovely people from the National Garden Clubs, you got to try. And so it doesn't cost me much to dig up 3 or 4 pips.
Mm-hmm.
And you're supposed to store them at 45 degrees for about 8 weeks, which I translate to that is whatever the temperature in the back of the refrigerator is. That's the temperature that they're going to get.
Yeah, that's as good as it gets, right?
Right. But I do have some bad news, Dee.
You do? What happened?
The handle on my favorite lawnmower broke.
Oh.
I mean, it just snapped right where it connects to the 2 pieces connect, I think is a weak point. And after 11 years of me mowing and turning and twisting that thing,
mm-hmm.
I was just mowing along and it said, "Ooh, it's not connected anymore."
Oh no. So it didn't shear off the bolt. It actually sheared off the place where the bolt
metal
goes.
is broken.
Yeah.
It would take welding to fix it. So this is going to sound strange. I duct taped it and I finished mowing that section.
I don't think that's strange. My sister duct taped things in her engine before in her car.
Yeah, but it's not going to last. And so the
Right.
strange thing is I had this other mower that I hate to mow with. It was an expensive mower, but I never really liked it. I love my Troy build that I got as a review mower to review.
Right.
I loved it.
11 years ago.
Yes. So I hadn't fired that one up in like 4 years, but it fired up. I put gas in it. It fired up and I thought, okay. And I remembered why I hate it. It's self-pacing. And so as you push down, it goes faster. And it just seems like to get the handle at a comfortable place for me to hold it, it's like all the way down and I'm like running behind the dumb thing.
Yeah.
So now I got to decide does a gal buy a new mower in November, or should I just suffer through with the other mower that I don't like? But I don't know where the bag is for that one. And I need to start bagging leaves. So now I got to look for the bag. And oh my gosh, Dee, it's just a disaster. And we won't be able to tell everybody the end of the story until the end of November. Sorry about that. Well, it'll be a week after they hear this, I guess.
Well, but my question is, how much more mowing are you going to do after November till spring?
No, probably
none.
I'll mow until after Thanksgiving because I have to mow up leaves and stuff.
Oh, that's right.
And then and I want to bag them. So I got to find the bag.
Okay.
And so there might be a day in December where it's like, oh, I'm going to just run it over real quick just to get these last leaves. And then I won't mow again until early April. But in the spring, everybody's buying mowers.
I was going to say, would you like some advice from your friend Dee?
Yeah, I guess.
Go buy the mower you like.
I should.
Just do that. Because here's the thing. I am not running behind a lawnmower to mow my lawn. That seems like misery. you don't know where the bag is, you'll have to go find it. Just go buy a lawnmower. They're on sale right now anyway. And I'm sure Troy-Bilt has a great lawnmower. They've probably even made improvements in 11 years.
Oh, yeah. I can order one online right now and have it delivered to my door.
You didn't
I think that's what I might do.
You haven't spent any money. You haven't gone anywhere. You haven't done anything in a year and a half. I say go for it. You love to mow the lawn.
I'm going to buy the mower.
Yay.
So then I got to figure out what to do with the old mower. It's like, can somebody come take it? I guess I could put it out by the trash and I call them the pickers. They'll come and somebody will pick it up.
Yeah. And I would sell that other lawnmower on, one of those apps or something.
I got to run the other one out of gas before I set it out at the curb though.
Yeah, there you go. So
all right. Enough about me and my lawn problems. Dee, tell us all about.
Not much of anything. I brought grit to put on top of my pots in the greenhouse. And if you want to know why I do that, you need to read my post about everything I could think of about the greenhouse, because I have 2 friends who have bought greenhouses and they ask me a lot of questions. So I tried to put everything I could think of in that post and then link to all my other posts on the greenhouse. And then people can ask questions in the comments section.
That tip to put grits on top of the soil to keep down the soil gnats.
The fungus gnats, yeah.
Fungus gnats. That's a great idea. I mean, if you buy new potting soil and bring it inside, you're going to end up with fungus gnats.
Yeah, you are. I mean, fungus gnats are a problem anyway. So if you use grit on top, it also keeps stems from rotting away on your cuttings because they don't get so wet right at the end.
Yeah. I have to confess 2 things about houseplants here now that you talked about that grit. So I have some houseplants in there. They're in a south window, but there's shade. So it's pretty dark in that room.
Mm-hmm.
There was a mushroom growing up in one of those pots.
Yeah, that means it's gotten a lot of water. And I've had that happen a couple of times too.
I don't water that much.
Well, I don't either, but it seems like if it's just the right conditions and you water, you're going to find a mushroom occasionally.
I figured the garden fairies did it.
Or that could be it. I mean, silly me.
And then another one of the plants that I actually had outside on the patio and I brought it in. Mm-hmm. There's a little dandelion growing in the pot and I'm letting it grow.
I don't even know what to think about that. Why don't you do our first quote?
Okay, I need a minute to think about it.
Because you're laughing.
Yeah, sorry. I'm sorry. Anyone who thinks fallen leaves are dead has never watched them dancing on a windy day, by Shira Tamir. I love that quote.
I do too, because that's the truth. And it has been windy in Oklahoma. Oh my gosh.
And if it's not windy, you get out that leaf blower and you make them babies dance.
There you go. Dance right out of your garden beds. That'd be awesome. So our flower topic this week, we're talking about winter interest because, well, it's getting to be winter and you want to be able to see stuff outside your window, right? Or when you take a walk or whatever. Mm-hmm. And you should walk your garden in the wintertime because things like heucheras and some other plants will heave themselves out of the ground and you got to smash them back down in there or they'll die.
That's right.
And you also need to watch for winter weeds and things like that.
Broken branches that can be taken off, before they become a big mess.
Right, before they put a bunch of disease in the plant.
Or you could just walk it to enjoy it.
Oh, yeah, that. Walking it to enjoy it.
Whatever.
Okay, so views outside the window, views as you drive up towards your house, views by your front door. You need to think about all those things in your landscape. And what do you look for?
By the front door is a great place to plant the early bulbs, by the way, because that's where you're going to see them when you go in and out your front door. So I recommend that is where you plant little clumps of snowdrops or the very earliest winter aconites and things like that. And so I keep talking because Dee ran away. Dee, where'd she go? There she is.
I'm sorry. I have a pot of beans on the stove and I could hear it and it was bubbling too fast. So I had to go over there and turn it down. Yes, you were talking about berries. What else?
I was talking about bulbs.
Oh, see, silly me. Oh, I see what you're saying. Plant bulbs right outside your front door so that you can see them.
Yes.
I agree. My front door, though, has a sidewalk. So I can't, the way our house is set up, so I can't put them right there. I guess I could put them in that bed to the left. Oh, yeah. And I do.
That's right. So berries are really important, especially berries that hang on. We both have, I think we have beautyberry.
We have beautyberry. We have winter berries. I have winter berries this year. I planted them.
I have one holly, but it kind of sulks where it's at. And in 10 years, it has not hardly grown at all. And so it's on a watch list and may be evicted from where it's at and moved someplace else.
So I talked about this in an earlier podcast. I planted very heavy winter berries, and then I planted Mr. Poppins with them. And poor Mr. Poppins, I have been gifted Mr. Poppins along with Mary Poppins before, and bless its heart, he died. And then I bought my own Mr. Poppins 2 times. I've bought Mr. Poppins, and the lawn crew accidentally weed eated him the other day. So he may be dead yet again, but I know that I have something that is male. I have a male holly somewhere because I have berries on another holly that is also, I think, a winter berry. The nice thing about winter berries is they hold onto their berries most of the winter time, and they're on stems that are bare because they lose their leaves. And so they look especially beautiful. And so I'm really trying to grow these. They are very small plants. We'll see what happens.
And my holly plant, by the way, it needs 2 to pollinate.
Tango.
But I believe that it's where you get a male and a female plant in the same pot. And so
right.
I do have berry. It does have berries over there. And like I said, if it doesn't improve, it's going to have to be relocated.
And also another plant that people don't think about very much is spice bush. But here's the hard part about spice bush. You need a male and a female in order to get droops, which is their version of the berry. And the hard part is you can't tell if a spice bush is a male or a female until it berries.
You know what?
Does that make sense?
It does. And I have a am I thinking right that I have a Carolina spice bush? It's got droops on it.
Carolina allspice, maybe.
Yeah, that's what I got. Never mind. I was
right.
thinking wrong.
And I also have a Carolina allspice, and it has berries on it too. I mean, it's a little bit complicated sometimes with native plants like hollies.
Here's the thing about all the big shrubs. All the big shrubs offer shelter for birds to keep them away from predators. And many of them offer food for birds, which is all those berries and things. So they are good. If you have the space for them to plant some, I say, don't shy away from really big shrubs that can be very nice for the birdies. But let's talk about the grasses.
And a lot of, grasses. Yeah, we could talk about those too. I was going to say a lot of the shrubs that you're talking about, we can plant them underneath trees.
Yep.
And so they are great understory plants, which you need because you need layering. And to catch the snow too in the winter. Mm-hmm. There's nothing prettier than snow or ice on a shrub. Okay, so now we're going to talk about grasses, pros and cons. I am very pro because I don't usually get snow until January, February. You are less pro.
I'm ambivalent.
I
don't have that many grasses. I do have some. And, I kind of laugh because the grasses are for winter interest. But then I have neighbors that have grasses like around utility boxes, which is where some of mine are. Mm-hmm. They probably already sheared them down to nothing. And it's like, well, so much for winter interest. I at least wait until.
Yeah, why would they do that?
I don't know. I wait until late February. I don't find that the snow just
flattens them.
I don't think they add or subtract, but they, they're just there, and I leave them and cut them back in late February.
So some of the grasses get more smashed here than others, like the pink muley grass. It does get smashed by snow, but it's
not hard to hear.
January or February. The Chinese maidenhair grass, which has that almost fountain type structure, it gets kind of clobbered. But you know what doesn't get clobbered?
What?
Virginia switchgrass.
No, it doesn't get clobbered here. That's what I've got over there.
So it's super vertical, and that's why it doesn't get clobbered. Also, little blue stem doesn't get clobbered. Big blue stem will get blown around, but it doesn't get clobbered either, because actually those grasses are native, and I think that they were made for getting smashed by the snow eventually. But it's like January, February for us.
I got to give a shout out to my hellebores for winter interest too, because the Lenten ones, especially, the leaves stay green all winter long. And so really anything that stays green, like evergreen trees, hellebores, all kinds of other things. If you start looking around, that is nice because then you have something to look at besides bare ground.
Yes. And I'm not going to be able to remember the name of this plant, but it's the other plant that has the little bell-shaped flowers. It turns golden in the fall. It doesn't stay, gorgeous green like hellebores, but it does really well too.
Are you talking about epimediums?
Yes. I never can remember that word, epimedium. I also have trouble with hibiscus and I have trouble with H words too sometimes. Anyway, epimediums.
Yeah.
And you would think that I could remember it because you could think EpiPen, a medium one, but I just don't. So anyway, epimediums don't do much. They stay kind of a light brown for fall, and they turn that color, and then they stay that way through winter. And then eventually, in the spring, you take them back. Another plant that looks really good that turns colors in the fall is maidenhair fern. Maidenhair fern turns a lovely gold in the fall, and it looks really good through most of winter. Also, let's give a shout out to hydrangeas.
Yeah, because if you just leave those moppy flower heads on, that always looks really nice. And I did on my big one. I think it's a limelight.
Mine's on there. I left it.
It looks really good.
It does look really good. Also, Annabelle, she looks really good in the wintertime until just the very end of winter. And that's when you cut her back. Remember with hydrangeas, some of them you cut back right after they bloom and some of them you cut back later. But Annabelle blooms on new wood. So you won't be messing up there.
And I have some oak leaf hydrangea, and I've got one on the side of the house. Literally got it in a quart pot from Proven Winners, and it's like 3 foot by 3 foot now, and it's got very lovely green foliage that's starting to turn. But the flower heads have just turned a really nice dark brown, which sounds kind of weird. No, I wish I knew which one it was. I'm very bad. Not so bad anymore. I try to keep track of all those trial plants, but that one is stunning. And it holds the flowers pretty, it holds them well.
Yeah. A lot of these do. A lot of the paniculatas and the oak leaf hydrangeas hold their flowers really well for the rest of the season. So I think that they're also beautiful in the fall.
So it doesn't take very long to figure out winter interest, and it does add to a garden.
It really does. And it also helps the birds. A lot of these berries they can eat. And also they can get shelter in the shrubs and even in the grasses. Some of the little birds get in there and they also eat the seeds. So you're doing great things for birds. And I would also say on your echinacea, go ahead and leave those seed heads if you can, because the birds eat them.
My sister and I had that exact conversation when she was over here a few days ago. She saw my coneflowers; they're still there, and she leaves hers as well because she says she knows the birds like them.
They do like them, and then sometimes you'll get a few spread around in your garden as they eat them. Especially goldfinches. Goldfinches really, really love all of the coneflowers.
They do.
And they sit on them and they pose for you, and it's really cute.
And so I have left you with the longest quote we've ever had, but you sent it to me. So
I love this quote, so I'm ready.
You may read it. I will sit back and go get some tea.
I like spring, but it is too young. I like summer, but it is too proud. So I like best of all autumn because its leaves are a little yellow, its tone mellower, its colors richer, and it is tinged a little with sorrow and a premonition of death. Its golden richness speaks not of the innocence of spring, nor of the power of summer, but of the mellowness and kindly wisdom of approaching age. It knows the limitations of life, and it is content. From a knowledge of those limitations and its richness of experience emerges a symphony of colors, richer than all, its green speaking of life and strength, its orange speaking of golden content, and its purple of resignation and death. And this is actually from a book called My Country and My People by Lin Yu Tang. Beautiful.
It's very beautiful. I need to check out that book.
I would almost frame that quote. That might be one I frame. You know how I like to frame quotes and put them on my
I do
mantle. That's a long one though. It would be small, be very small print. So
or very, very big frame.
Very big frame.
Why don't you cross stitch it, Dee?
Oh no, I don't cross stitch anymore. Yuck. Okay. Seeds.
So we're talking about seeds and how to store them. And now is really as good a time as any to inventory the seeds that you didn't use.
Mhm.
And so that you don't end up ordering, and which is what I always end up doing. But I'm going to inventory all my seeds to see what I have and what I actually need. And then we wanted to talk a little bit about how to store your seeds to keep them viable.
And so I went over and found a video about tips to keep your seeds viable from Oklahoma State University, and we'll link to it. And these were some of his tips, which I didn't even think about. The first one.
I'm thinking about why that is. Order early in the week when you order seeds. Oh, I know why.
You don't want it sitting on a loading dock. I wrote it for you right there in the notes, girlfriend.
Oh, that was I didn't read the next sentence. I'm sorry. I figured it out on my own. I swear. I knew. You don't want it sitting like in the post office or loading dock for over the weekend.
Because it'll kill the seeds. Because if it's hot, like Oklahoma, it can be, even in February sometimes, it might sit out there and they might get too hot and then they die.
Yes, that's true. You want to keep them dry.
Right? You want to keep them dry. You want to keep them cool.
Cool. And what do we mean by cool?
Just not hot. So keep them in your house.
So room temperature.
Yeah. Keep them in your house. And so if a seed heats up too much, it dies. And that's not always true of seeds that get cold, because some seeds need cold, but that's another whole topic.
Yeah. And some seeds actually need the heat of fire to germinate, but that's another topic too.
So in this next part where he talked about you can use an insulated container to keep your seeds cool, he's talking about going out to the prairie and collecting seeds in the fall. And he says, if you're going to do that, make sure you have bags with tags. And he said, put the seeds in the bags and then put them inside the cooler so they don't get too hot in your car.
That's right. And that if you're going to save some seed, even from your own garden, don't put them in an envelope and think, I will remember what these are, because you will not remember what they are. So
No,
always label.
Yeah, you'll never remember it. Trust me, because you'll just be too busy in the spring. Heck, I can't even remember what plants I have until I've been out there for a little bit. So test germination of your older seeds with a damp paper towel and a Ziploc bag. And another person who does a really good job of showing that is Nan Ondra on Hayefield. She did a whole thing about germinating seeds, and it's under a tab on her website if she hasn't changed it. And
I'll look for that link.
She is the queen of saving seed, and now she sells them. And I bought several from her, and they're sitting right above my head in my little cabinet up here.
I need to check out her seed. I think she sells out of the popular stuff really quick. All she has to do is say, this is one's pretty rare, and boom, everybody
buys it. She sells her seeds on Etsy, for those that don't know. Also, in this video, it's really worth watching because he actually does that germination test with some radish seeds that are really old. I want to say like 2006. There's no way those should be alive.
And?
They were alive, most of them. It was amazing. So I know that tomato seed lasts a really, really long time. So don't throw out your tomato seed. So if you're testing several varieties of seeds, you'll need to identify them, of course, like we said before, either on the towel or on the bag.
Right. And always a laugh is, so if you have 10 tomato seeds are all that's left in the packet and you test germination, obviously you're not going to test all 10. You just have to pick a couple and hope for the best.
Yeah. That's true. So you do the next quote.
We cannot cure the world of sorrow, but we can choose to live in joy, by Joseph Campbell.
And on our bookshelf is a book that was sent to us called Tiny Plants, Discover the Joys of Growing and Collecting Itty Bitty Houseplants by Leslie F. Halleck. And I don't know Leslie. Do you know Leslie?
I only know Leslie by reputation. And I think I have been to Cultivate and seen her from afar because she's always wearing something that's just covered with flowers or leaves or whatever. So, but this book, Dee, I love miniature plants, and I always think I want to get more. And I actually brought in one of my miniature plants to show you.
Okay. Oh, that is really, really tiny. Is it a fern?
This is an orchid, and it's Angraecum disticum. And I've had this thing for 2.5 years, and that's all the bigger it is.
Wow, that's small.
but it's a 2-road Anglican.
I do not have any tiny plants. None.
Okay, so Dee, be careful when you open up this book because they are so cute. And
Wait, I'm wrong. I do have some tiny plants. They're in a terrarium, but they're only tiny because they're small versions of themselves.
Well, these are small versions of a lot of different plants. Like she has small versions, and of course, I went right to the violet section. There's something called a Vietnamese violet, and of course, there's miniature African violets. And I want those. And there's a miniature Asian violet, and I want that. It's a primulina. I want that. The micro mini African violets. I want those. There's a Cape primrose. I want that. And I just started going through this book and thought this is a dangerous zone because
it is for you.
It is. I'm string of pearls. I do have that one. I have
string of pearls.
So you have a miniature plant.
Mine isn't very miniature. I have string of hearts. I have variegated string of hearts. I have string of bananas. And I think my string of pearls died. I need to go buy another one. They occasionally die.
She has butterwort in here. And I had a butterwort. It's a carnivorous plant and mine died.
I don't even know what a butterwort is.
It's just it almost looks like a little rosette succulent.
So I'm going to ask you a question. Is Leslie the one who pins these little plants to her clothing?
I'm sure she does.
I think I've seen her at some stuff, but I think I was afraid to go talk to her. Well, she had stuff pinned to her clothes.
Oh my gosh. I mean, it's, I have a little pin that's like a little vase.
Yes, somebody gave us some of those. We got one that was a necklace, and that was from the tropical plant people from Florida.
So she has these just displayed in the cutest ways, and I love them, and all about the care. And the care of these is pretty much the care of any house plants. But what is the problem?
But in a tiny way.
Yes.
Because you don't want to overwater your tiny plants.
No, they need tiny bits of water because they are tiny plants. So I was just looking to see if I don't know if she has my little, what's the name of that orchid? Okay.
I don't know.
I had
while Carol looks up the orchid.
She doesn't have that particular orchid in here. Though it is miniature. She has a whole list. She has a list of sources, all their websites.
One time I had a tiny shrub, and it was a tiny shrub, and I won't be able to remember the name of the shrub, but it was grown by Elizabeth Lawrence. And it was when we were in North Carolina, and we went to that nursery, that famous nursery.
Plants Delight.
And he had that, and it was like, yes. And it was suggested by Elizabeth Lawrence. And I put it in my garden, and I was really careful with it and everything. I kept it alive for several years, and it was the meanest plant. It used to stab me all the time.
Oh,
I don't know what it was now, but it was a mean shrub, and it's gone. Because finally, a little bit of it died, and I thought, you're so tiny that there's nothing of you left, and I yanked it out because it kept stabbing me.
I was going to say, how did we get from tiny houseplants?
Because it was tiny. It was a tiny shrub. It didn't get very big. Okay. Look at my hands. See. Got about a foot tall, if that.
Well,
it's tiny.
So
the name of the book is
Tiny Plants Discover the Joys of Growing and Collecting Itty Bitty Houseplants. And I love this. This is staying on my bookshelf. And the problem is I get really interested in houseplants now.
Right.
And I don't think now is a good time to ship them because, you don't want to ship seeds in the middle of the hot summer when they could bake you also don't want to have your tiny plants end up like freezing
frozen
somewhere. So yeah.
Although I have ordered stuff in wintertime and had it come, and it came just fine because they ship it really fast. So something to keep in mind. Buy some more tiny plants, Carol.
I know there's a garden center that they're big into the houseplants because they got a clue people want them.
Right.
I bet if I go there, they might have some tiny plants, and I'm all about them. They don't take up much room. And, I'm sitting here, Dee, in my, you can see my room I'm sitting in. I got that lovely south window.
I know.
And I bet you I could put another little thing and put some tiny plants there.
Okay, you do that. That would be adorable. Let's do it. You go right ahead. I will not.
I need to focus. I'm going to focus on the violets.
Oh, of course you are.
The fake violets. Anyway, I really enjoyed that book. Thank
Why
you
do you
very
call
much.
them fake violets?
Because they're not viola. They're like primula, St. Paulia. They're
Okay.
called violets, but they're not really.
So some of them are
viola.
primroses because they're primulas, right?
Yes. And
Okay.
but they call them the popular common name. I said popular name. What? Garden much, Carol? No. The common name has the word violet in it. I think that's what I'll focus on.
Okay, sounds good.
All right. Thanks for indulging me.
I am. Okay, now we're going to move on to the dirt, which you found this time.
The dirt. Yeah. So a couple of places I was at, they had these pollinator pops. And it looks like a popsicle, not a popsicle. It looks like a sucker with a wrapper around it. And it's got a stick with the name of the plants on it, or the name of the type of pollinator it attracts on it.
Cute.
And the idea is that you just plant this thing and it's labeled and everything. And it's like, I don't know that this is such a good idea because it's only like an inch round disc. And, they have like the hummingbird one has wild bergamot, black-eyed Susan, dwarf, I don't know what that is, spurred snapdragon, sweet William pinks, landsleep coreopsis. It's like those are not all going to grow in the same inch of space when you stick that thing in the ground.
Yeah, I think this is another one of those little clever ideas that people come up with because they're trying to get people interested in gardening and they think it's really cute, blah, blah, blah. It's like the cards you plant or the bombs that you throw. Or
the question is it, I mean, they're cute and they would, they're obviously selling them to be like party favors and things like that. 99.9% of them probably are never going to get planted. And of the 1.1% that get planted, how many are going to result in a big save the pollinator garden that ends up with, it's just like.
Yeah, because they have a lot of information about how, like you have the quote, the quote from the little package that says, each bumblebee, butterfly, and hummingbird seed pod includes a curated selection of perennial wildflower seeds, compost, clay, coconut husk, and planting instructions. Bees, butterflies, and hummingbirds play an integral role in our food supply. Those creatures are facing extinction, but we can change that before it's too late. Be a part of the solution and plant a garden today. And I read it like that because there were lots of exclamation points. Well, here's the thing. Yes, you should be a part of the solution and plant a garden today, but I'm not sure their pops are the way to do it.
No.
Go to a reputable seed company and buy some seeds.
Yeah, everyone is in a hurry. And I think this is just one of those impulse buys that, somebody's going to buy it and add it to the top of a gift or whatever.
It'd be cute in a stocking as a stocking stuffer. And I guess you could plant it, but it is a little gimmicky, but it's still interesting. I appreciate it that people care.
Yeah, it is nice that they care. So we'll put that on our show notes. I don't know if you just do an online search for pollinator pops, you'll find all places to buy them.
So shall we move on to our rabbit holes?
Yes. What is in our rabbit holes today?
Well, mine's food still, because I'm still into food, just like I was before.
Okay.
This time it actually relates to gardening. It's Rancho Gordo beans. And several years ago, I think CBS Sunday Morning did a thing on Rancho Gordo, which is that they have like a subscription service that nobody can get on. And they have very fresh beans, but you can just buy beans from the store.
Why can't you get on their subscription service? Is it closed?
There's only a certain, beans are like all agricultural products. There's a limit. And so they only have so many subscribers. You can get on the wait list. It's so popular that people get on it and never get off. And they send you a curated group of beans, but you can just go to their place and buy other beans. And they have a huge selection of beans. They're almost all heirloom selections. They partner with farmers in California and Mexico to grow them. And they have a lot of unusual things. And right now on my stove are bubbling away some cranberry beans. And I bought yellow eye beans and I bought some big lima beans. I bought all kinds of stuff. And cool. I don't tell my non-gardening best friend, Amy, but she might be getting a gift package of these for Christmas. And they're super fresh, grown in the United States, except for the few grown in Mexico. And they actually partner with those farmers and give money back too. And they also have some seasonings, but I buy those locally at Savory Spice and sometimes the grocery store. So that's my rabbit
Wow.
hole. What's yours?
Well, my rabbit hole is it's I don't know if it's a bona fide rabbit hole, but I got a couple of things out of the way, and now I'm doing my secret Christmas project. It's got me deep into family history, and so I've got to get going on it because I am a little bit relying upon the supply chain in order to get the actual gifts when I'm done with it. So that's my secret project that I'm working on. That's my rabbit hole this time.
Okay, that sounds
Got to get done.
interesting. So that takes us to our gardening commissions.
That's right. What's your commission?
You're going to buy tiny plants.
I am going to buy tiny plants. I am.
And order zinnia seeds because now you're concerned.
I am a little bit.
As much as we tout zinnia seeds, people should go on and buy them. And Botanical Interest has some great zinnias.
Yeah, we'll put a link to Botanical Interest. That is one of our affiliates. And if you buy from our link to Botanical Interest, then we'll earn a small commission. Doesn't change the price that you pay, one little penny.
And all of that stuff that we post online in our show notes on Buzzsprout, that costs us money to do that.
It does.
So
I wanted to back up to your rabbit hole. And you said that they had a wait list for their subscription list.
For beans, yes.
So Dee, we should start a wait list for our books. We'll sell more if people have to get on a wait list to get one.
Exactly. Except for we might have to produce more books. And I don't know if I'll do that.
Get on my wait list.
Do you want to hear
books.
Okay, so my garden commission is I don't have a clue. I'll probably plant up my amaryllis bulbs that just came yesterday, which would be November the 1st, so that they'll bloom by Christmas. But my amaryllis pots that I ordered from Peter Wakefield aren't here yet. So any ideas on that, Carol? Should I plant them up in another pot and then gently move them to the special pots?
I would wait until your pots came. In fact, I would wait until you returned from your trip, and that's when I would go ahead and pot them up.
That's a good idea. Maybe my pots will be there by then.
They should be. I would hope.
I feel like it was kind of early for amaryllis bulbs for them to get here, but what do I know?
Well, I'll tell you what.
I'd have to do math.
One of our listeners sent me an email to our Garden Angelus mailbox, wanted to know sources for amaryllis because she thought her grandchildren would really like them. And I'm like, oh, they would, which reminded me that somehow I've come up with this tradition that my great nephew and great nieces always get an amaryllis bulb from great Aunt Carol. And I'm like, I saw the sold outs and I thought, oh, I got to get moving on those. They do them on the rocks on the vase or down in the glass container. And it's so easy. The last year I gave them the waxed ones.
Those waxed ones were kind of fun.
I might do that. again. Yeah. I might do the waxed ones again.
They're easy.
I'm going to order waxed ones.
That's the ultimate and easy. Basically, they're fake, other than the bloom isn't fake. I mean, they aren't fake, but you don't have to do anything because you don't water them or anything.
That's the other thing I'm going to do then. I'm going to order the waxed amaryllis.
Boy, you are busy. You got to focus on tiny house plants, order some zinnia seeds, order some amaryllis.
Work on my secret project.
Repot mine when I get back from Portugal.
There you go. We want to thank you for listening to the Garden Angelist. If you like our podcast, please tell your friends about us. Also hit the subscribe button so you don't miss anything.
And if you listen to Apple Podcasts, we'd love a 5-star review. That helps us get noticed by others. Could you also share our podcast with your gardening friends? Word of mouth is still the best way to get the word out there.
Yes, and be sure and check out our show notes for links for more information about today's topics, plus links to our own websites. And if you want to help support us, use the affiliate links. If you buy something after clicking through on them, we earn a small commission and it costs you nothing.
It was lovely to chat with all of you over the garden gate today. Bye until next week.
Bye, everybody.